When they see the dog as their kid and the dog is misbehaving, many of them are not going to exchange them. They just want to fix them. And that's where we come in.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Franchise. I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger here. And for the first time in the show's history, we've got two guests on at once. So it's going to be a good episode. Everybody, please welcome Alfredo Rivera and Fred Hassen to the show of Sit Means Sit. Guys, thanks for joining today.
Hey, we are honored that you're having us. It'll be fun.
It will be. It will be. It will be. But I always like to start off, maybe if you guys can give us the quick journey, the quick background. How the heck did you end up where you are today with Sit Means Sit? What's the background leading up to it all?
Well, I can give you a little brief history, and Alfredo then can pick up a little bit after that. I never even owned a dog. I'm the CEO, the owner, and the founder. I never even owned a dog till I was 40. So a lot of this is kind of unbelievable for a lot of people. And even when we get franchise owners in, they're like, I don't know much about dogs. And we're like, perfect, because then that's how a lot of us started. And they're a lot more used to, they have a blank slate. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot better. So anyway, I used to live in the streets. And I had, it was kind of a rags to riches story. And then we went to, when I was 40, I got a dog and I was working in a bar and just kind of messing around with the dog. And one thing led to another. And I got a van and started figuring stuff out. And before you knew it, we had a school. And then now we have over about 170 franchises early on in my journey. Maybe about a year in, I met Alfredo, and he was a friend of mine, and he was working for another company. Mm-hmm. And I'll just let him pick up a little bit of that side of it from there, and then we can get into it.
Yeah, so I met Fred 6 months after he started. He was single owner operator, sit here in Vegas. And I came from the corporate world, and I had a protection club where dogs got to bite, like police dogs. Mm-hmm. And Fred was interested in competing in protection with his pit bull, Maddie, at the time. And I fell in love with his dog. So we became friends over his dog. Because I had a club after hours where we used to train to compete. And Fred took a national championship 1 year after we started training together.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
That was pretty cool. He had a pretty awesome dog. And so during that time, as Fred was growing the business, he had offered me a partnership, and I told him I was committed for a 20-year commitment with the company I was at. So for the first 4 years, I was just helping him here and there, and then our company sold, and then I came full time on with Fred.
That's awesome. And that led a lot into, just to kind of pile on that a little bit. That led a lot into just the integrity of our business. When Alfredo was with the other company, I was like, hey, I'll offer you more money or whatever.
Sure, whatever you need.
And he just made it totally clear to me, hey, when I give somebody my word, I made a commitment with these guys and I'm going to stay with them. I was like, all right. And then they sold, and that kind of opened up the door. But I love the integrity, and, we've operated our business that way.
Yeah. And Fred, it's been over 20 years now that you've been with Sit Means Sit, right?
Yeah,
28 years.
That's
28 years.
And there's videos on all of this stuff. I think the first person on YouTube that was actually, running videos of my dog around distraction. And then Alfredo was talking about my first dog, Maddie. Yeah. And one day I was out there at the park and I saw like trash out there. And what I mean by trash is you'd see, there'd be grass, and anything that was different than the grass, like maybe there was a milk carton or a bottle or paper plate, whatever. Yeah. I started to teach my dog to pick up the trash and throw it in the trash can.
Yeah.
And then the news media got a hold of it, and it's still online if you want to search Pitbull picks up trash.
Yeah, I'll link to the video in the episode for people.
Yeah, so the whole video thing has been going on for a long time, and the exposure, because that's really what pet clients have or any client has the most problems with their dog. Yeah. All the dogs are good in their living room, but when distraction comes around, then there's problems. And what good is your dog training if you can't do it around distraction?
What's interesting? Fun fact is Fred still does a lot of videos, but he was the first one to really zone in on video marketing
Yeah.
before it became a thing.
Yeah.
Back when he was doing it, it wasn't a thing. It was not recognized as such a powerful tool until
No,
until 10 years.
100%, and I can attest to it. I was telling the guys before I jumped out, I was watching your YouTube videos from like 15 years ago for the last couple of weeks as I was reading into it. What was that moment of inspiration for you, Fred, as you kind of were thinking about it? Like, obviously, you don't have a marketing background. Like, what led you to say, like, hey, let's get onto YouTube, let's get onto Instagram early and start doing this?
Yeah, it really wasn't. It really wasn't any type of marketing. Like you said,
Yeah.
I have no marketing background. It was just that I kind of, I loved showing my dog. So
Yeah, there
and
you
the
go.
whole distraction thing, dog training is kind of like I compare it to when people get into this as a business.
Mhm.
I compare it to it. It's really different than anything else because it's something that they really love. Like if
Yeah.
you get into like a restaurant or something, I'm not knocking any of that stuff, but you're doing it a lot of times for the money. You're not like dreaming about, on vacation and reading restaurant magazines the whole time. But with
Yeah.
dogs, it's different. It's kind of like a musician.
Yeah.
Like Paul McCartney has more money than he could ever dream of. But I'll bet you anything when that guy is on vacation, he's still singing.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the dog. So when you combine people out there that don't really necessarily have to have been a dog trainer and
Yeah.
combine that passion and put it into a business, the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
And the biggest motivation is for us, a happy dog under control is what it's about, right?
Yeah.
So what better than seeing a video of a happy dog doing all kinds of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really, not that building a business is easy, but making people look at cute dogs is a pretty easy trick on the internet, is what I've found out for sure. I'm curious as well. So I think, pets are people these days. So a lot of millennials, to a lot of generations that are younger. And I think it takes a lot of trust building with your audience. I think you kind of already touched on the fact that you guys really focus on integrity. What was that like in the beginning, right? When you are kind of unknown and you're trying to teach people new ways to take care of their pets and their animals, how'd you go about building that trust with the consumer in the early days of Sit Meets Sit?
The biggest thing for us is talk is cheap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of programs out there, a lot of trainers. Some are good, some are not so good.
Yeah.
But for us, it's all about seeing the results immediately.
Yeah.
And since day one, with the way Fred set this up, we're able to take any dog at any time, at any moment, with any situation, and we're able to show how we're able to get the dog's attention away from the distractions.
Yeah.
And you were asking a little earlier about how this started, and I'll kind of tell you a little funny story because I never really had a game plan at all, just kind of fell into place. And, I have a couple of interviews that are out there, and some book people actually heard them, and they're putting together a book on my life now.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's kind of crazy. But just to give you an example of a quick funny story was I was doing a seminar once, and one of the guys that was there was watching the seminar.
Mhm.
And then he said to me, "Hey, I'd like to join your organization." This was early on. I think we only had a few locations at the time. And I said, sure, no problem. And he said, "Can we talk?" And I said, "Yeah." And we had one of our owners was there, and he had an RV, and we sat in the RV. So the guy, he had a list of questions.
Yeah.
About his fifth question down, he says to me, "What is your business plan?" And I said,
build a business.
I like looked at him, and I said, "What's a business plan?" And he kind of laughed, and he thought I was just joking with him. He's like,
Yeah.
Like, no, really. He's like, "What's your business plan?"
Yeah.
And I said, no, really. Like, what is a business plan? I don't even know what a business plan is.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, you really don't have a business plan?" And I said, "Nope." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to go into business with somebody that doesn't even have a business plan."
Well, he missed out
I
on an
knew what I
opportunity.
had, and I just said, "Well, that's fine." And that was the end of that meeting.
Sure.
But everything just fell into place as we went, and then
Yeah, it makes sense. I think you're reminding me a lot of. So I the last interview I did on this show, I interviewed Adam Contos, who was the CEO of Remax. He just left, but so massive company, right? Started off as a cop. Like he was a cop early in his career, like
Oh,
doing
wow.
SWAT. And he talks about how like business is just a thing, but being like a great leader, a great people person is like a skill set. That's the thing that he argues got him there. Alfredo, maybe a question for you, as having worked with Fred now for almost 3 decades. Like, how much would you attribute to that? Like, I mean, I've talked to you guys for a little bit. You're genuine guys. You know, how much would you say he's just a great people leader, and that's what's led him to build this business in the way he has, even without a business plan?
It's just being honest, transparent,
Yeah.
and no BS.
Yeah.
It's just being straightforward, and talk is cheap. Talk
Yeah.
is cheap. Your word is your bond. That's for us here.
Yeah.
We have contracts only because they're necessary
Sure.
in the legal world. But as far as
Yeah.
we're concerned, all of our franchisees, they know if we say something, even if we made a mistake in
You'll
their
own it.
favor, even
Yeah.
if we lose money, we're going to do it because our word is our bond. That's just the way we operate.
Yeah.
And in all businesses, as I started seeing this over a course of time, and speaking about the gentleman that you just mentioned, not only that, when you talk about like the iPhone and Apple, and when you talk about Tesla and Elon Musk, what I found, or me with the dog training business, what I found is, anytime there's a disruption in an industry,
Yeah.
and that goes for your Remax guide too. It always comes from an outside source. It
Yeah.
always comes from an outside source. Steve Jobs and Apple, they weren't in the phone business.
Right.
Elon had no background in
Right.
rockets or in cars.
Or any of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's because, and I'm always very thankful for that I didn't have a dog training background, because it allowed me early on to think outside the box.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like when you come to it with a unique perspective, you also have to be willing to make mistakes. Like that's something I think I hear all the time too. It's like when you're running a business, you're going to make 1,000 mistakes. You're going to be wrong 1,000 times. As long as you can own it and then improve it the next time, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
For sure, 100%. Well, what about you? I mean, do you?
Yeah. What do you want?
Yeah,
No,
were you like? Did you come from like podcasting parents?
No. Ironically, as you were talking, I was like, we could probably talk over a beer or two in more depth. My wife and I, we just bought our first home, and it was a pretty big milestone because 13 years ago, I was living in a 1998 Ford Taurus for about 6 months. So the regs to riches, maybe not riches yet, but regs to not being
You're on your way.
Yeah, we're getting there, So
Joe Rogan's probably going to be. He's probably going to be texting you right after this podcast.
Yeah. Clearly, me and Rogan are going to be next on that. No. So for me, I was an engineer. I'm a biomedical engineer by trade, so I'm very educated. And now I don't use any of that. I learned you could start businesses, and that's kind of all I've done since then, because it's really fun to start businesses.
And that's kind of crazy that you said that, because it's the same with our people. Like our top two owners, one was a lawyer,
Yeah.
No dog background. The other one was a nurse.
Yeah.
So,
coming to something with an outside perspective, I fully believe in. Like, I think you've got to be willing to fail. You've got to be persistent, and you just got to give it a go, because you might have something big. Like, I'm guessing when you were in a van, you didn't think you were going to sit here with 170 locations across the nation, having a book written about you.
And and the advantage of having so many people from different backgrounds, all of those backgrounds help.
Oh, 100%, right? It's just such a unique perspective.
We're bringing in information that we would have to pay for if we didn't have it in-house.
And I would guess too, even in your own story with the podcasting, you kind of like look into it or whatever, but you didn't like initially go into it like, this is what I'm going to do. And then before you know it, you're a maniac, and you're just checking everything out. And this is really cool. And
you get really interested in something, and then you can't, for me, it's like, I'll be on the phone until 3 a.m. just reading something new, because I'm like interested by it. That's my problem, is I get really deep into things once I start being interested by it.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for here with what we're doing here. And that's, from a person standpoint, it doesn't matter if they have the dog background or the same with podcasting. You'd be able to tell somebody that was really passionate, even if they're just learning it. And that's just a really good framework to work with.
You
Yeah,
know,
no.
talking about that, not having background, I came from the corporate world, so it was hard
Yeah.
for me to see training someone that didn't have background and accelerate their abilities. But the first time when we started the professional dog training school, Fred calls me up from Arizona. He says, "Hey, we're going to start a dog training school." I go, "Okay." He says, the first person that we're bringing is got no dog training background." I go, "Fred, how am I supposed to train these people in 3 weeks that
Yeah.
have no background?" Right? I was
Figure it
under
out.
the impression you need all this dog behavior skills and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But what we found, and Fred already saw that, but what I saw finally was if you have no background, you're easier to train because you
Yeah.
don't have
No
stuff that's
preconceptions.
distracting you, right?
Yeah.
You're completely open to learning.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody says, when we're going through the process of the opening a franchise, and the question comes up, do I need dog training background? We're like, no.
Preferably not.
That's
Yeah.
actually a benefit if you don't have one. If you have one, no problem. We can overcome that.
Yeah.
But
And
We
and,
can overcome
and and I think it's probably, I don't know anything about podcasting other than being here, but
that. Yeah.
even with your podcasting thing, you might think that that's kind of cool and something you might want to get into, but a lot of what's making this happen for you is your personality and stuff. And I don't think getting into podcasting necessarily brought that to you. That's just who you are.
Yeah, I would
That's
agree with that. I
yeah,
think
that just brought you here to the.
I think the more genuine you could be to yourself, the better you are in whatever role you decide to kind of do, in life.
right.
And I'm curious, kind of on that, like you guys have been at it for a few decades now. Like I'm assuming a lot stayed the same. Who you are, the values you guys act by. What's maybe the biggest differences in how you guys are running Sit Mean Sit now versus when you were one guy in a truck or one guy in Arizona trying to train people who don't even know what they're doing.
well,
Like,
the,
what's the biggest difference?
well, one of the big differences is just how much the internet's grown, and like
Yeah.
we didn't when we first started. We did a tremendous amount. I don't know what it would. I don't know
It
if
was
you
all
remember.
organic marketing.
Yeah. I mean,
Getting out there with
we
our
didn't
dogs,
we
people
didn't
seeing us.
we didn't have
Yeah.
pay per clicks or barely had a
Yeah.
website. But for me, that was right up my alley because I love being with my dog. I love being in public.
Yeah,
I
super
love
easy.
doing it. But now, there's so much more that we have, and that's where the franchise owners really come in. So again, using you as an example, if you came
Yeah.
into this organization, and we would love to have you, if you came into this organization, you know a little bit about podcasting, obviously,
Yeah.
and that's just something else we could bring into this because we have people that want to dabble in it a little bit. Now we got
Yeah.
somebody that can help in that area.
Yeah, so technology is
Yeah.
something that's really brought more to the table. But we grew this business on organic marketing,
Yeah.
getting out
Yeah.
there in person with our dogs, because talk is cheap, right?
Yep.
Seeing
Yep.
happy dogs under control, blowing people's minds, taking their dogs, doing a
Doing the same
demonstration,
thing.
3 demonstrations
Yeah.
out in front of everybody,
Yeah.
transforming dogs and then transforming their lives.
And that's the
How-
other thing you really don't see with dog trainers now too much. They might have a good marketing thing, or they might have Google AdWords, or they go over there, or they might even be a good salesperson. But a lot of the
Sure.
clients are just thinking, "Oh, that's great," or "You're a dog trainer," and of course your dog's good, but what are you going to do with mine? And
Yeah.
actually doing a demonstration, before, so they can actually see changes with their own
Yeah.
dog. It makes a big difference.
You know what different the biggest difference there is they're so excited to get started
Oh,
because
interesting.
there's no unknowns.
Right.
They've
Right.
seen that the product works. They're
Yeah.
they just want to get on board.
Yeah, and they come in, and they're just kind of like, "Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff that your dogs do, but if you can just, their expectations are so low. They're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
you can just get them to just maybe walk halfway down the street,
Right.
and maybe we'll be happy. And then when you give them so much more, now you can't get rid of them. They're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
can
They're like
you teach
totally
us
bought
this,
in.
this, and this?" We're like, wait a minute. You were just going to be happy with just
Right.
barely walking.
Right.
How do you guys go about picking the right owners for your franchises? Because clearly it's like I totally buy it, right? Like I totally buy this idea that getting out into the town, showing people the results up front, like it's a certain personality type that's willing to get out and do that. Like how are you selecting for that in the process?
This is a very difficult thing. It's
Yeah.
a very difficult thing because you're doing a lot of it over the phone,
Sure.
and and nobody's going to say over the phone, yeah, I'm not real
Sure.
good at calling people
Yeah.
back, and we've even found after all of these years, we've had our share of people that were both like, oh, this guy's going to be, okay, and then
Yeah.
he's like one of our top franchises, or just the opposite.
Sure.
And you really don't know what's in here
Hmm.
until they're out there. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, you'll get them because they're a little intimidated with us at
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
so you don't really see their whole personality. And then, we've just seen people, just as long as they're themselves,
Yeah.
people can sell whether they're quiet or whether they're rambunctious or whatever, and what their passion is. That you just don't know what's inside of them until
What
they're out
drives
there.
them?
You
Yeah.
want to
That
add to that?
that is true, and that's true in everything. A new broom sweeps clean. And
Yeah.
6 months later, you find out the employee is not who they said they were. Or
Sure.
if you're in a relationship, you've got your best foot forward, and
Yep.
then once you get to know them, you get to see the real person.
Yeah.
But
Second date. After the second
we
date,
do
right?
vet them. We do vet them to make sure that we're not getting people that we're going to be embarrassed by, or
Sure.
people that we have to defend their image.
Yeah.
Because we have a responsibility to all the franchise owners. So we do a
Background
really good job
checks.
of doing background checks and credit checks, and
Mm.
that gives us a good idea. And then when we're dealing with the people, if they don't call us back,
Sure.
if they're not responsive, that's a flag,
Pretty
right?
good sign. Yeah.
We've dealt with a lot of people, so
Yeah.
we're really good at flagging things that might be a problem down the road, and we bring it up.
And
Yeah.
one of the things that we have is, like Alfredo was just saying, that's just us. I mean, what you're
Sure.
seeing right here, sometimes people see this and they're like, oh, they're putting their sales face on,
Yeah.
but this is just who we are all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And we have a thing with our franchises, it's called nobody waits. And no matter who it is, we get right back to people. And a quick funny story, I used to love that show, Undercover Boss.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I used to watch it all the time, and it used to just amaze me that, like, you could have this show, and then they would take the
And
CEO,
they would not even recognize them at
they
all.
would put like a mustache on him, and nobody would know who he was. Well,
Yeah.
one day they called us to be on the show, and so
Yeah.
I thought, our secretary was just joking, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, no, here's the number. So I call the lady, and I'm like so excited, and I was like, wow, I watch your show.
For the show.
I can't believe you. And she's like, well, you guys got to be ready to, like, you have to be able to, like, maybe do a college education, or how they give them gifts or whatever. We're like,
Yeah.
no problem. I was just so ecstatic to be on the phone, to be on the show. And then I said to her, I go, I just got to be honest with you. I go, I don't know how you're going to pull this off. I go, because, we've run the business. We were a part of the business. We were troopers on the
From
street,
the ground up.
from the
Yeah.
ground up. And we have our franchise school for 3 weeks. We teach it. So people all have our phone number. I have a very distinctive voice. You can't
Yeah.
put me in a pair of glasses and you're not very distinctive
Yeah, it's
mannerisms.
like, oh, where'd he go?
So I'm not going to be able to fake it like I don't know how to train, or I don't know
Yeah.
how to.
Sure.
So she's like, don't worry about it. We'll just, sometimes they do find out who you are, and we just put it into the show. And I was like, okay, great. So we ended up having three
Interviews.
three interviews. And then she was just like,
There's no
oh,
way.
we've never had this happen. We can't do this. There's nowhere to hide you guys.
I was gonna say they would like show up for taping, and then your employee would be like, "Fred, what are you doing here?" You'd be like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm not Fred. I'm the new guy."
Yeah, Fred.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fred, what's with the mustache?
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I love that. I'm curious as well. So as I was like watching your videos and everything, I was thinking about the dogs I've owned over the years, and so my parents, town of 1,000 Northeast Iowa, very rural people. So dogs were like, it was a tool at the time, basically, right? Like it hunted with us. It would be their like guard dog. And now I look at my wife and like the dog she's owned, and it's basically her son. Is how I'd best describe that
Yeah.
relationship.
For sure.
How have you guys seen that shift in 30 years? Like I'm just assuming it's drastic. Yeah, just how people expect their pets to behave, or what they want out of their pets as a companion.
Well, You know what that does for us? It gives us more business.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, because when they see the dog as their kid and the dog is misbehaving,
Yeah.
many of them are not going to exchange them. They just want to
Yeah.
fix it, and that's where we come in.
And not
Yeah,
only
makes
that, I
sense.
think, there's different personalities. So the good thing about this is, like some people have a personality of what their dog, like, oh, good boy, and they're very, very, every little thing. And then other
Yeah.
people are very stoic, but none of that should make a difference in the training of, we don't want to change you. We don't want
Yeah.
to change your thing. And when we come over to your house, we make sure that, you make your rules. You just tell us, like, some people want the dogs on the couch, some don't, some want them on this couch and not on that couch. Some trainers believe, oh no, you can't sleep with your dog because that makes it this way or that way. We don't believe in any of that.
No,
So it just depends on you and what you want. And even if you change your mind later on, like, I used to want them on my couch and now I don't, or I didn't before and now I do, and we can change that to anything.
it's just improving their communication with their dog, so they can teach them what's important to them, without punishment, without intimidation. So the dog is doing it out of affection. They respond out of affection, not out of fear.
And it's hard to legislate that with people. You know what I mean? It's very, 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 very difficult.
Everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody's different, and some people just want the dog to barely, to just if he just kind of hangs out with me, that's cool. And then other people, they want a Marine.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't want to, hey, it's your dog, and we want to be able to do all those things. And in order to do that, I've competed in multiple things at very high level in protection sports and dock diving. We were both in the world championships in dock
That's
diving,
awesome.
and that's like a very, pet friendly kind of thing. Our whole organization dominated the sport when we did it. Retriever training, pet training. And that's also says a lot about the training system of
The methodology.
the company, that it's versatile,
Yeah.
And that was the other reason why I did videos on so many different things, because I wanted to show the versatility of the training.
Makes sense. No, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious, a question I always like to ask people, especially when they've been in business for more than 10 years and clearly almost 30 years here, is what you would have done differently. And I think it's a striking question for you, because a lot of the organic marketing you did is like a very modern approach to starting a business today. But if you were to have to restart today, what do you think you guys would have done differently or approached it differently this time around?
I can think of one thing. I think we would have gone franchise earlier than we did.
Oh, interesting.
We just kind of backed into that, and we didn't even know. And then we just but that was, how many years in was that?
Okay, we started this in 1997. October of 97 is when Fred took out the fictitious name. 1998 March is when I met him. Okay. And so in 2002, I came on full time. Yeah. And in 2004, we started what we call merchandise license agreements, yearly renewable contracts. Okay, we were very successful with that. So successful, in fact, that we then jumped to franchise. Yeah, and that was in 2009, right?
Okay, wow, so almost a decade.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we had to. We when we were just a merchandise license agreement, we got to 100 like pretty fast, and then. Yeah. And then we lost like half of them.
Well, when we made the decision to franchise, we knew we would lose 50% because a lot of people are afraid to jump from a yearly
long-term contract
to a 10-year contract. But that's okay, because they were just the smaller ones anyways. All the big hitters stayed on. Yeah. And so, they're they're still
then there was other things, that we started implementing in the franchise that no other trainers are doing or have done. And we've just felt it for a long time is, most people, when you go through a school or whatever, you get your certificate and that's the end of it. You're certified and that's it. We make them recertify every 3 years.
Continuing education.
Because we're constantly changing things and updating things. And when I just think back at that with a school that somebody, maybe 20 years ago, I mean, it's so much different now.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the 3-year recertification, what that does, a lot of our owners, they become true owners in the sense that they're not doing the appointments. Okay. They're overseeing staff. They've grown their business to where they have staff. And so that's our way of keeping them up to date, because
Yeah.
they're now not handling dogs the way they used to. And
Yeah.
so they're training their employees. We offer training at our professional dog training school for employees, but they don't have to send them if they don't want to. So
Yeah.
that just keeps them up to date on the evolution of training, because it continuously evolve.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys learn more, right? Like you get more shots
we
on
have to
goal, you
make
learn
sure
what
they're
works.
in the evolution process.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's really big is I invest in businesses and stuff too, and I've always looked at the top, see what the management's like at the top.
Yeah.
And we've been together for all this while, and Scott Sanchez is a third person with us, and he's been with us for how long? Scott been with us forever too.
Since 2008.
Yeah, so with our schools, like me and Scott are teaching the training part, and he's teaching the business part. So, like we were talking earlier, they start bringing in different management people and different skills, and they don't even get to know the owners, or the owners, maybe their father owned it at one time, and they don't know like how to work the kitchen or whatever. There's not any of that here with us, and they get to know us all on a personal basis. So the foundation has been strong all this while, and I think that that plays a big part.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious, I think you've obviously got a great story, and I would assume you select for people who are also going on similar journeys. Like, what have been some of your favorite success stories about people, franchisees or folks on the team, over the years with you guys?
Well, I'll start with one, and maybe Alfredo can think of one too. Cindy Hunt, who is our top franchisee.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say how much?
We can beep it out, or we don't have to share.
Yeah.
She's doing really well for herself.
She does really well.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the numbers of some of these people. So, when she came over here, like I said, she was a nurse, and the only question she had, which was really, for that time, a lot of people are asking, like, they want to talk to other owners, or what this person did or what that person did. And I get the point, but really it doesn't have that much to do with how you're going to do, but I get it, and we let them do all that. But Cindy only had one question. She said, well, she had more than one question, but her main question was, is there anybody making money at this thing, making good money? And we were like, yeah.
She was a nurse, a registered nurse.
So that's really, she just wanted to know that it was possible.
Yeah, and if it's possible, she can kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what happened was she had a friend of hers that was a nurse, and getting right back to what we were just saying, is her nurse friend said, well, I'm going to wait and see how you do, and then if you do good, I'm going to get in. And like I said earlier, that that doesn't always correlate, but she waited, and Cindy did well. And so then the other nurse got in, and that's Jory, and she was in
Pueblo, Colorado, very rural.
Little Pueblo.
Giant footprint.
Yeah, very little Pueblo, Colorado. And she was doing a ton of business. Now she has, 3, 4, 5 locations.
That's awesome.
Franchises. And so we always joke with them, bring us nurses.
Yeah.
Bring us nurses. I don't know what
selecting for RN specifically.
But the whole nurse thing worked out well.
The person that stands out for me is a guy named Matt Smith. He owns 6 locations in Orlando, Florida. Okay, and he came on. He is a son-in-law to Jory, who's the second nurse that he was talking about, that Cindy's friend. And so he started out working for his mother-in-law.
No
all right,
way.
He was there 2 years. Came through the school, was there 2 years. Decided, you know what? I'm going to move with my family to Florida, and I'm going to open up a sit me sit. So I break up Florida into 4 trade areas. He buys one. Within 6 months, because I had some other people interested, he bought the other 3. He was the youngest sit me sit owner. He was 22 years old. 22 years old, okay?
Crazy.
And he opens up 4 locations within 6 months.
Wow.
Now he owns 6. And he is like one of our top performers, and he's got so much personality. It's a lot of fun to watch him talk, because he's got a ton of personality.
Yeah, and I want to just hit on a couple other people real quick. I mean, I could go on and on, but Dave Wilbert's another one. He was a lawyer. And like
Yeah.
his position was a little bit different because he was making, because everybody's different. They come
Yeah.
in and they're leaving maybe a $50,000 a year job, so
Sure.
that's not that big of a deal. But some of these people are leaving a $200,000 a year job,
Yeah.
$300,000.
Bar's a lot higher.
Yeah, and I'm like, sounds like a great job. Like, what are you leaving that
Yeah.
for? So give me that job, So they, so his bar was a lot higher, but he's just been up there, number one, number two, and just having that there, he knows legals. He's so level-headed. The training has been, and he's in Little Syracuse, New
Okay. Yeah.
York, and he's really killed it. And then the last person I want to bring up, again, I don't want to leave anybody out. We have so
Yeah.
many people, but Darren Shepard. Darren was actually one of our first.
Darren was one of our first franchisees. He was at first one of the first MLAs, which
Oh,
converted to
interesting.
franchisees. But the really big deal here is he opened up in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, which is
Yeah.
highly metropolitan. Okay, it makes sense that you'd be successful there. He ended up selling that to an employee. He moved up to Montana. Montana is very low population, and
Yeah.
He's in Bozeman.
he's in Bozeman,
Bozeman, Montana.
and he is
Wow.
doing the numbers he was doing in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's insane.
That's
Yeah.
insane. It's insane. Continuously for
logic.
years. Yeah, and we have a franchise working group that they're all part of, and people that have been around for a long time. But anyway, we have a really, we just really have a good group of people, and the information's all. It's here for them to find, and when a new person comes on, they get to know the people through
Sure.
different ways that we have and different things that we put together. And then you just find people that you resonate with. But again, it's hard to tell because they all have different personalities. Sometimes those raw guys, they jump out at you.
Yeah, they come out exciting and then it fades away a little bit.
They're exciting. When they would see Alfredo doing the sales, they'd be like, well, that's just him. I'm not that guy. Alfredo's always like very, very, but they started just seeing all the different things, and they all had the passion for dogs. They've all had the integrity of, of the business and the people, and everything's just been, we've been very lucky. We really haven't had, business just gets better every year. We've
That's
had
awesome.
a really good run.
But what it comes down to is talk is cheap, and it really doesn't matter your personality. The product sells itself. It really does.
It either works or it doesn't work, right?
You gotta work hard to mess it up because the system really works.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's the way to do it. Systems are repeatable, right? People necessarily aren't every day. So if the system is there, then it's always going to work. I'm curious, maybe winding down the show a little bit, but a forward-looking question. Again, I love kind of getting to talk to people who have done it from zero to where you are. What's the next 20 years look like? I think obviously you're starting now at a lot better level than you started 20 years before this or 25 years before this. What do you see it going to in the future?
We're really expecting an explosion of growth.
Yeah.
An explosion of growth.
Yeah.
Okay. We are heavily investing in new marketing systems, and we're expecting to really explode. And Fred and I are ready for it.
Yeah, we did most of this on the streets and through seminars and stuff. But like I was saying, or like we were both saying, and how you understand just technology and how much it's changed, and the way we've done this with video and being able to see, that can translate to anything. So with the new technology and stuff, it's that stuff's just right in line with it, and we don't have to learn something new. I just think video is such a big part people want to see.
And another thing, the reason why we're so excited about the explosion that's gonna happen is we have a really good group, really good group of people that work with us. Fred touched on the FWG. That stands for Franchise Working Group, and that's made up of, we've divided up the country into 5 regions over the years, and each region has a representative to represent the franchisees of that area. And then we have the chairman, which is Darren Shepard, who we've already mentioned that
Yep.
just blows up Montana. These group of people are amazing.
Yeah.
And David Wilbert, who's the top single owner operator, rather that single location operator, he's part of the FWG representing his northeastern region. These people, we've been very, very lucky to be surrounded with so much talent.
Yeah.
And between us all, we are much stronger.
Yeah.
So today, we are much stronger than we were 28 years ago. And it's because of the people that we have attracted and because of the people that we have been able to surround ourselves with and been smart enough to use their skills.
Yeah.
And it's just together we make things better.
And we've been a strong proponent of building within.
Mhm.
So a couple of the things that have happened is, people have got their friends in, or their brothers, or their mother, or whoever.
I was gonna say your son-in-law, your friend that you do nursing with. Yeah.
I mean, they just kind of see it happening right in front of them. And then, there's a lot of other stuff that happens like that. Like a lot of times when we initially interview somebody, they'll be very clear and like, hey, listen, this is for me. We're talking to him and his wife. This is for me. My wife, she's got her own thing. She's not really that interested in this. And, a lot of them say that.
Yeah,
and then
6 months later.
And, so all of that plays a big part of it. And them getting, and normally when you're getting somebody else in, not always, but most of the time, if you get your best friend in or somebody who's been with you for a while, and they're just talking to them regularly and they start seeing this stuff, and usually they're like-minded people.
Sure.
If they've been together for that long. So that's just been how it works. And I think that the whole dog thing just attracts, it's a cool business. I mean,
It is a cool business. It's fun.
Right.
It's
$40
important.
billion industry. So
people ask us all the time, like, what, well, when are you going to retire or whatever? I'm like, what am I going to do? Yeah, like, I don't have any hobbies, like this is what I do. This is, I go on vacation. I'm with my dogs all the time. I'm still training, probably more than I did 20 something years ago. Still competitive. As long as my health keeps up, we don't have
nothing stopping.
I can't think of anything else to do.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a life passion at this point, it seems like.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, this was a fantastic episode, guys. I think the big thing I took away from it that I absolutely loved, it's gonna be the title of the episode, Talk is Cheap. I think that basically explains you guys down to a T in 3 words, if you could. And so
I got to disagree with you, though. I think the most exciting thing about this episode is that Joe Rogan's going to be calling you.
Yeah,
he's not going to be the least impressed with us.
All right. Well, if that happens, I'll call you up. We'll make it happen. That'll be awesome. But gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
If you can, I always like to give you the last chance, tell people where to find you. We'll obviously link it all in the episode description and whatnot, but where should people go to learn more about Sit Means Sit and y'all?
www.sitmeansit.com. That's where we're at.
There you go, everybody. Simple as that. Look them up on www.sitmeansit.com. If you're looking for some really good videos, go to the YouTube as well. There's some gems from 15 years ago, I'll tell you. But anyway, thanks again, guys, and everybody else. Thank you for listening to another episode of Behind the Franchise, and I hope you join us for the next one.
Thanks, and tell Joe we said hi.
We will.
All right.